So here we go. Let's jump right into this. What we're going to want to do is first things first, go over to, oh, how do I get rid of this? Close. Yeah, got it. All right, so what we're going to want to do is go right over here to our image, right click it, open with Photoshop. There it is. All right, first things first, we're going to just duplicate it by clicking the image and Command J. That's why I say just. Help me remember these shortcuts because they don't make any sense. What does J stand for? It should be like Command D, but whatever. Command J should duplicate it. You'll have to Google it if you're on something else other than a Mac. First things first, so we're going to want to get rid of, the two things that we want to get rid of is this towel and this lovely, probably a pool in the neighbor's yard. These two things are kind of distracting from this beautiful little boy or girl. I don't know. So first things first, we'll work on the towel. There's a lot of ways to fix this, but I'm going to go with what I think is best. So first things first, we're going to grab this stamp tool. And how a stamp tool works, if you've never used one, is basically if you hold down the Alt button, you'll notice the cursor changes. You choose, let's say, an eye, and then you let go of the Alt button after you click. So click with Alt held down, and then you're going to go somewhere else, and like the eye is going to be there. You see that? And then if you close, so you can start anywhere you want. Once you click though, now you'll notice near the eye, if you look up at the eye, it's actually copying everything that that little top cursor goes to, wherever you clicked Alt. So you can recreate this whole baby's little face. Let me increase it. Look at that. Now he's got a face on his tummy. There's two of them. Anyways, we're just going to use that tool basically to get rid of this towel for the most part. So how this is going to work best, computer's run a little slow videoing and running Photoshop, but how this is going to work best is if you notice there's not really any definition to this area that we're going to be copying and replacing the towel with, except for there are some vertical lines. You can kind of see them here and here. The vertical lines are of like a reflection. So you're going to click towards the top like that, and then you should be able to copy over. We're actually not going to click to the top because if you notice it's darker down here and lighter up here, and we want to keep that gradient of color correct. So I'm going to click like right here. I'm going to carry it straight down, and I'm going to just paint over the towel with it. You'll notice that it doesn't look amazing, but I'll show you how to make it amazing after a few minutes. Keep going. So now we're going to want to get a better look kind of at the section right down here. If you paint with a soft brush, it looks best. By that I mean right here, hardness all the way down 0%. It looks best because it kind of disperses the color change. Otherwise, if you have it too high, it'll look like this, and that looks terrible. You don't want lines. So what we're going to do is make sure that this is all the way down, but the hardness is actually good. So those hard lines when you're doing this, because if you notice now it looks too soft, it looks kind of messy. That's not good. So you can do two things. You can increase the hardness if you like, or you can just make this smaller, which technically makes it a little bit harder. It makes a harder line and a harder shape overall. So we're just going to go ahead and do that for the most part right through here. Again, we still haven't changed where our Alt is. It's still up at the top, just a few inches away, but it works out great because it's copying everything that we have up there. So we're just going to keep going with it. Once we get a nice little line going along the bottom section, we can go back over with a larger brush, but this small brush is going to just help us get that started. So now I'll make it larger. That's probably too large. And again, cover up this section right here. It's getting closer to what we're looking for. I normally actually have a pad and a pen that hooks up to the computer to do my mouse, but I'm on my bed and there's no flat surfaces for that pad to be set up, so I'm not using it right now. And then my hand's getting kind of tired because I'm using a trackpad. So that's information that doesn't really matter to you. Again, so now what I want to do is keep covering up as much of the section as we can before going down to our harder tool. We just don't want it to bleed over onto the subject or the child in this situation. We don't want it to bleed over onto any of our hard edges, so smaller right through here. And then what we're going to do is bring it down to the size that we can really, it matches kind of the pixel. You see how these are kind of jagged edges? We want kind of, that's what we're looking for, is it to kind of match that and get rid of all the dark, because the bucket, I guess, is not hard or is not dark like this, and the baby is not dark like this, so you're going to want to make sure that there's not really a lot of a dark line. A little bit of contrast between the bucket and the child is okay. Like you can see here and here, you don't want it necessarily like that because that's not realistic. So leave a little bit of a line, but really for the most part we're getting rid of all of it. That's our goal here, is to remove the dark towel. Just keep going around. When we zoom out, there are going to be a lot of lines. There's going to be a lot of ugliness to this edit, but overall it's going to be better, and then we will slowly but surely get rid of those little tiny details that are much less distracting than the towel, but still distracting all the same. We're getting there. So now you're going to notice a few things. There's these lines of repetition. There's a line here that is repeated down here. There's this, which is repeated up here. Not a big deal right now because we're still going over. We notice right here that it gets darker from, it's like light to dark here. So the next thing you're going to want to do is take your brush size a little bit bigger and change the opacity. So it's going to go down lower. This is going to soften even more what we're doing. I recommend going down to like probably like 11%, maybe to like maybe 15. But this is going to just be clicking and dragging. We're still using exactly the same alt situation, because as we do that, if you notice, it's keeping these vertical lines right where they should be. This line stays here, this tan stays here, all the reflections are going to look nice and clean. No matter how much we click and re-click, it's always going to look good. The reason I'm re-clicking is because if you click once, it's only applying 10% of the above image to wherever you're clicking one time. So if you want to do it again, you got to re-click and re-click, and it's like creating little layers on little layers of your image. As you notice, that line is starting to fade because we've done this so many times. So we can go down a little bit and redo a little bit of it. We're going to readjust the alt, where the source, I guess I should quit calling it alt, but where the source is, we're going to just readjust like right here. It's a little bit farther away, but it's good still because it's directly above keeping those lines that create a realistic reflection. I'm going to just keep going through here. So this is probably not necessarily the fastest way to fix this image, but I think it's going to give us the best result. So I'm not necessarily going to worry about time. It's not super important. If you're getting bored, you can just fast forward, or you can just be doing this yourself. While I'm doing this, I'm starting to think of why are all outdoor or like outdoor above ground pools blue? Why don't they sell them like black, or because black absorbs more sunlight, so it would heat the water up faster. I don't know, it's something to think about. Maybe I'll Google it while I'm doing this. That's what I'll just have to do. Like I said, kind of boring. We're getting there. Yeah, lots of emails. Adobe, they attack you. Download Photoshop. It's like just a mess. I'm like an email hoarder. I don't delete them, but I do organize them into folders. And the Adobe folder is like several thousand in the Adobe folder, just in case I ever want to go back and read about promotions that they had, in Christmas in the middle of July. Yeah, it was 2015. I might still want to know what that deal was uh, someday, so I gotta hang on to it. You understand. I'm sure you understand. It's kind of how it is. All right, it's looking a lot better. Still a pretty hard line that I can see there. There's a mild one right here and right here. We can keep doing this until it's gone if we wanted to, but I want to kind of move on to the next thing. You get the idea. You're just going to want to grab from somewhere that looks better than that and go back and forth until the line is gone for the most part. This line right here. There we go. Starting to look good. We can go even higher up as long as we stay vertical. Doesn't really matter. We can also increase the brush size. It'll give us even softer lines. The only difference is you want to be careful not to get close to your edge, otherwise you can see how it'll start to paint over it. You won't see it for the first couple of clicks, and then suddenly you'll be like, where'd that come from? So last thing I'm going to do is just get rid of a little bit more of the shadow here. I don't like it. It's not keeping entirely vertical, but it's okay. All right, and as you can see, that's looking a lot better than previously. Look at that, it's great. All right, next thing we want to do, we want to get rid of the blue. For whatever reason, it's blue, it's obnoxious, makes for a distraction because we want to focus around the child. Saying gender neutral stuff because I don't know what it is. Looks, if I had to guess, that looks like a boy. I hope I'm not insulting somebody, but it looks like a boy. All right, so we're going to select this. There's a few tools that you can use to select. I'm going to use the, what is it called? Quick selection, because it's my favorite. We're just going to go clicking all around here, and it does a really nice job of kind of clicking right where we want it to. See? Look at that. It selected pretty much all the blue except for like right there. Oh, that looks good. So, no, that's good. We're going to do now, oh, well, you know what? We're just going to deselect real quick. We want to copy. I probably copy too much. I'm a hoarder of layers, but we're just going to duplicate it. Command J or right click. You can right click it and then go to like duplicate layer. But Command J is faster. And if you're going to be editing a lot, you want to do that. So now we've got that. We're going to go and select this thing again. There we go. Now I got it selected. We're going to do a new layer. We're going to do a layer adjustment. So layer, new adjustment layer. We're going to go to Hue and Saturation. This tool is fun and it makes psychedelic pictures. Because if you just grab this, you're like, whoa. Yeah, that's stupid, but it's. Anyways, leave it at 0 at the beginning. We're going to go up here, and what this basically does allows you to change all the colors of whatever is in that area that we selected earlier. So we're actually going to go to the color that we want to change is not the brown because we like the wood. We don't want to change green because we like the green. The color that we're going to want to change is blue. Yinju blue or cayennes, cyan, whatever you call it. We're going to go right over here. We're going to change the color to, you can see there's a lot of colors. We don't really change it to purple because it's still distracting. We're going to change it to blue because it's just a different blue. But if you just drag along here, you can kind of find like a green, and that's kind of cool because now it looks like a bush. And the next thing is it's kind of bright though, like it's neon colored because the blue is neon colored, the green's neon colored. But if we grab the saturation and just bring it down a little bit, it starts to look less crazy. We could also go down here to the brightness. If you take it all the way up, it's white. If you bring it all the way down, it's blackish. The black kind of just seems like it's kind of creating these dark lines, so I'm not going to adjust that much and just bring it down a little bit. And now, as you can see, it looks much better than a bright blue. It's kind of like a bush. It's like a bush. It's nature. You can see that. It's nature. If you wanted to, you could try and get to the white. It's probably like hoses and pumps, but I'm not really going to worry about that. I'm not going to worry about that too much. Now we have, no, we did it. We did it. So I'm going to add these two layers together. And what we have is towel and obnoxious blue pool. And now we have no towel and just a bush behind the trees. There you go. That's how I would fix this image. There's other things I would do, like lighting adjustments, coloring adjustments, baby skin, sharpening eyes, all sorts of other stuff. But as far as just hard adjustments, that's what I would do. Hope this has been helpful. I don't know when you're going to see this. You're probably already done with the with the edit yourself. And you probably already found something that works, so it's a waste of time. But now you know two things. You know about the stamp tool. I forgot what it was. It looks like a stamp too. And the hue and saturation layer. So, hope this helped.